What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about XRP today. It is the 17th day of October, and here we are at about $2.28, just below there. 8 hours, 26 minutes left in the day. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it, you guys. Here we are, the low of the day at $2.19. It's very, very possible that we do go lower. We're going to see if we can figure out if we do go lower or if that is something of a low that we can depend on, okay? I want to keep in mind that before we get too much further with this video, because I am anticipating lower prices, before we get on with that, I do want to say there are a metric ton of shorts piled on for Bitcoin. $20 billion. Typically when we're at this point, when we see $20 billion in leverage on either side of the wall, typically at those points, that's whenever the price starts to shift, when we're at these low points and high points, depending on what it is. We look at the 1 day, the past 24 hours, Bitcoin has $4.5 billion in shorts piled on, about $2.2 billion in longs. It's actually a lot of leverage both ways, to be completely fair. And it's typically moments like this, again, that we do see focal points where we turn around. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if we saw slightly lower lows. After all, what's a price of like 215, 210 compared to 227? We're at the low points no matter what, guys, and we're about to start rallying, but I do think we have lower to go. Looking at the 1 hour time frame here, looking at these indicators, our RSI is very bearish. Absolutely bearish, astoundingly bearish. You can't even get above the 60. Your time spent above the 50 is minimal at best, and you're getting oversold consistently without getting overbought at all, period. Just consistently oversold. This is a bear's dream right here. This is exactly what you want to see if you're in strong bearish conditions right now. So I wouldn't be surprised in the least if we did come back down, bouncing off the oversold zone, maybe getting into it, forming some bullish divergence, or even getting a lower low. Any of those outcomes would likely promote a loss in price between now and probably going into the end of the day. I was thinking that today we might actually end the day on a bullish note, and maybe we do. It depends on how everything happens. But looking at these indicators, I would think that, being on the 1 hour time frame here, we only have 8 hours left in the day. I would think that we do probably move down going into the end of the day. The MACD is bearish, right? We're trending down on our oscillators here. Every time we get bullish green at all, it's just nothing. It's a big old nothing. Who cares? It's just a lower high. The stochastics are having a hard time getting above the 50, continuously getting oversold. Whenever you are getting overbought, I suppose it's a nice reading, to be fair, but you just didn't do much with it afterwards, right? And the RSI didn't reflect that, neither did the MACD. So, one indicator looking good standalone is not good. You want to see readings like this, where we're seeming to get readings more like this with the oversold zone now than with the overbought zone. I would expect that we have a little bit lower to go. And if we look at this, what I want to do is I actually want to zoom out. Now that we know that the 1 hour indicators are all bearish, I want to look at the 4 hour time frame. And I want to go back to when we were over here back in July, right? You guys remember July. You remember May to July, we were just in this range, this exact range for such a long time. We found resistance here a good bit of the time, like right at about $2.32. And we found support here a really good bit of the time, right? Basically range bound between this area here. We're in that same range now. Other areas of support that I think are notable to mention might be right here, right? We found some support here continuously. We did find some support right there as well, but that's not really significant. I would say this is more significant. Resistance there, right? Support right there. Resistance, 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 support, something right there. So these lines might provide significance going forward as well, or I should say going lower as well. And look at that, we actually did find support right there. Look, right at this line here, we're finding support right there right now. If we do go lower, there's targets at $2.13, $2.08, and again, these are rough estimates, so give or take, right? I wouldn't be surprised in the least if that's where our low was for XRP. If we look at this from an overall low here to an overall high right there, that is, look at that, that's perfect with our golden ratio. It coincides perfectly, that $2.13 area, with our golden ratio. Truly wouldn't be surprised in the least if that's where we ended up hitting as our low, which would again imply lower prices. Now, if we see lower prices to that magnitude on the 1 hour time frame, I would think it's possible to form bullish divergence here. Certainly possible, or sorry, on the 4 hour time frame, it's very possible to form bullish divergence between these 2 points, and I think that's what we're going to see. The 1 hour time frame, yes, we'd form bullish divergence between these 2 points. That's what I was thinking. So we're set up. We're set up for bullish divergence. We even have it presented right now. Stochastics look bearish, RSI looks bearish, and the MACD, of course, does look bearish as well. But again, higher lows here in the oscillators. You can come down lower, but still promote higher lows while seeing lower lows. So I think that we're fine. We're in the face of danger right now, but we're fine. I don't believe that XRP will see prices below $2. I do believe we will hold $2. We'll get near it, but we'll probably hold it. And I think that between today, tomorrow, and the next day, sometime between now and the end of the weekend, we should have resolution. What do I mean by resolution? Resolution meaning we find our low, we've hit the low point, and we've come back up. We've resolved it, right? We've solidified that that is our low. To some degree, I think that we will do that by the end of this weekend. So that's the expectation there. Can we go below $2? Yes. It's fine if we do. I'm not forecasting that myself. I don't think that XRP goes below $2, but yes, it can happen. And if it does, it's a perfect time to buy. It's not a perfect time to sell, right? Absolutely terrible time to sell. Again, the amount of liquidations that are, or the amount of liquidity that's available right now as far as shorts and longs go, the shorts are just piled on at a dramatic level for Bitcoin, probably for XRP too. Let's just see. Yeah, very fantastic levels here. I've seen higher levels of shorts piled on for XRP before, but this is pretty high. 500 million is pretty damn high for XRP. That's for damn sure, especially over a 30-day period. 120 million in a 24-hour period. That's a lot for XRP. It really is. Still a good bit of longs though. People are trying to make their plays. The degens have not learned their lessons, and I think that before we really see the market start to progress, we're going to have to clear everybody out on both sides. So some volatility is likely coming our way at some point. We look at the daily time frame here. The RSI is promoting bullish divergence. We do have bullish divergence now. So again, this should tell you everything you need to know, right? We're likely not going to keep moving down at this pace forever, right? We're sometime between now and I think the end of the weekend, we're going to find support. Once we get a green day, that will provide bullish divergence between where we are, wherever we are at that time, and this point here. That would likely send us back above 237. What's key about getting above 237, right? We go back in time. We go back over here. Sorry, we didn't have to go that far back because it's on the daily time frame. 237 takes us above this area that we were finding resistance at between May and July, right? That point there. So we'd be breaking back out of this range instead of being in this range, and likely with that divergence coming to play, likely shoot past this area, well past this area, something like that, and begin looking for targets that are on the path to $3, right? Again, $3 and above. If we're looking at the indicators here on the daily time frame, bearish overall on the RSI, but with a bullish setup here, getting overbought, or with this bullish divergence. The stochastics are a bit bearish at the moment, right? Typically, whenever you're pointed down like this, you do see the stochastics come back down either to the 50, the 40, or all the way down to the oversold zone, most likely. So it is very possible that even if we find our low over the coming days, and it is just right there above $2, that we're kind of stagnant still, that we don't see any kind of like voluptuous movement upwards, it's very unlikely that we do find support anywhere other than the 50 or the oversold zone, right? Finding support in these areas in between the 50 and the oversold zone, it's not as common. It does happen, but again, here you found support between the 50 and the oversold zone right here. It didn't last. Here you found support between the 50 and the oversold zone. It did not last, right? Here we found support between the 50 and the oversold zone. I counting the chickens before they hatch, but I don't think it lasts. So let's see if we find support here over the coming days at the 50. If not, we will have to go to the oversold zone, and in which case we might have to talk about prices below $2 a little bit more candidly. But I'm not at that point yet. I think we go down just a little bit. We probably do hold our stochastics at the 50, and we probably do find support here and then move up higher. We'll see. Nice higher low kind of trend dynamic there. The MACD is bearish, but again, we have bullish divergence showing itself on the MACD, bullish divergence showing itself on the RSI and on the stochastics. So there's definitely some bullish setups going on right now. Actually, Bitcoin's moving up a little bit right now too. It's possible that we have found the low, but again, the 1 hour and the 4 hour time frames I think would suggest otherwise. But again, I stated what I stated in the beginning of this video because I know the short-term stuff looks bearish. But again, remember, there are a ton of shorts piled on across the board. So it doesn't really matter. It's not that TA doesn't matter. It's just we're right on the brink of seeing a fantastic short squeeze across the board. So just be prepared for that, okay? Don't put yourself in a position where you're sidelined or where you're short or anything like that, and especially at the bottom, because we're definitely going to see some upside momentum come into play here with Bitcoin and the rest of the market. Looking at the daily time frame again, just for what it's worth, where XRP is right now, I think it's at a fantastic opportunity. Very fantastic moment to buy some XRP here. From a low to a high, the very first pivot that we had, we're down at the 1886200 level for support. Coming back up from here, what we want to see is a break through the 1414. Okay, typically when you find support at this area, we're not counting the scam wick, right? We're just looking at this current price. When you find support at this area, typically you do find either resistance at the 1414 and continue going lower, or you break above it and then you move higher. So this $2.50 area will be, I think, I don't want to say vital, but essential. It'll be instrumental in our process of moving higher. Okay, when we get above 250, I think at that point we effectively validate this as a low. Once we get above $2.50, okay, that's something to look forward to. And then once you get above 260, it's basically on to new all-time highs, is what my thoughts would be. By the end of this month, I do expect XRP to have a dramatic recovery, right? The end of the month here in November, the very first day of November right there. The end of the month is all the way over there. I wouldn't be surprised in the least if we were back at or above $3 by the end of the month, something like that. We might stagnate, we might move sideways, and this pump I think will be just as dramatic as the dump was, but obviously to the upside. And going into November, I think we'll start to see new all-time highs come back into view. I don't believe at this point in time that we'll see new all-time highs for XRP by the end of October, but I do think that we will be back above $3 by the end of October. Looking at this here on a weekly time frame, zooming out even further, the weekly RSI is weak. It's the weakest it's been in actually a very long time. It's the weakest readings that we've seen since July. You have a higher low here compared to where we were in June, and yet we have a lower low in the RSI. That is a form of a hidden bullish divergence. We're also right here at the 40. It is Friday. It is the weekend right now, right? So we're probably not going to move too much over the next couple of days. I wouldn't be surprised if on the weekly close for the RSI we close right here at the 40. That's actually a prime setup to bounce. You can see that we've bounced off the 40 before. We bounced off of here, bounced off of there, and there as well. We've got hidden bullish divergence alongside of bouncing off the 40 here. I think we really are in a prime setup to see some fantastic growth over the coming weeks. Just over the coming days, and maybe even going into next week, we might see a little bit of stagnation, figuring ourselves out, seeing if we want to move higher, if we want to move lower. But I would assume that between now, today, the 17th, and the 20th of October, between these next few days, I would think that we do find our low, and that going into the rest of the month, we probably do just slowly but surely move up higher. Once we get above 260, that's when things should really pick up the pace, and we should start to excel to those price levels that are above $3 and beyond, right? Inevitably, whenever we see XRP at new all-time highs, the expectation would be that we go to about a $13.56 price or more, right? We've done the analysis, we've done the math, we know that any price really below $13.56 just doesn't really make sense, right? Anything technically below $10 doesn't make sense. But at this point, if we get to $11, $12, it'd make more sense to hit the 1414 or likely go above it rather than stopping below it. You typically don't do that, okay? So the expectation here is that once XRP gets moving again, we will see a $13.56 price. We will see something beyond that even, and likely that'll happen between now and the end of this year, which the end of the year is right here. Right? That's the end of the year. So very short amount of time for that move to happen, but luckily XRP moves at a very fast pace. So whenever it is time to go, we're going to grow at a very spectacular rate. I know it seems a bit unreal right now, but when we're up there, it's just what was meant to happen. We're going to get there by the end of the year, 1356 and beyond. I got nothing else for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one, okay? Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.